What's up, Vikings fans? It's Mitchell Renz, and this is Chat Sports, and you're watching Vikings Now. Coming up here on today's show, I have 5 surprising cut candidates from ESPN's article where they went ahead and they tried to predict the Minnesota Vikings 53-man roster. So I went through, I looked at all the players that made the list, and I selected 5 dudes, and I was like, wow. Those 5 players were the most surprising that ended up getting cut. The first name, and by far the most notable name on this list for me personally, was wide receiver Ihmir Smith-Marsette. Now, if you've watched this show before, and if you've watched some other Chat Sports programming that I have done, I'm a big fan of Smith-Marsette. I think he's a very talented wide receiver out of Iowa who definitely has some upside. And not only does he have upside as a receiver, but when you look at a player, and when you look at a team that is as deep as the Vikings are at the wide receiver spot, I absolutely look for upside. But then you also have to look at special teams ability. And Smith-Marsette not only gives you that upside, but he also gives you this special teams ability that you're looking for, whether it's on punt returns, whether it's on kick returns. And for a dude last season that averaged over 20 yards per catch, I thought that was it was the most surprising player that did not end up making the final 53-man roster from ESPN. Here were the 6 receivers that ended up making the team. And, I'm not going to sit up here and disagree with Justin Jefferson. I like Bisi Johnson. KJ Osborne's a very talented wide receiver 3. Adam Thielen. Jalen Nailor is a player who I have upside over, but I'm keeping Smith-Marsette over Nailor. I'm keeping Smith-Marsette over Albert Wilson. So what do y'all think? Because Chat Sports programming is all about y'all's interaction. And to be honest, it's actually how I can also put food on my table. It's how we turn the lights on here. It's for y'all to let me know what you're thinking. So type that Y for yes. Let me know with an N for no. Will Ihmir Smith-Marsette make the 53-man roster? The next name up here for my Vikings surprise cut candidates is Oli Udoh. And let me just be frank with y'all. Last season, he was bad, and there's just no other way you can look at it. He did not play well. However, he did play in 94% of the snaps for Minnesota. With that type of playing experience, that's at least a guy that I could understand the Vikings wanting to keep around. He's also been on the team for 3 seasons. He had to play offensive guard here and there last year. I believe he's going to get kicked back out to an offensive tackle position. But the Vikings offensive line does have a lot of changing parts. And when you bring in a new head coach, you have a new general manager, there's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of different things moving around. But he's 6'6", 320 pounds. You can see that he has the body. Like, you look at Oli and you're like, all right, this guy has the body to be a successful offensive lineman. The issue was he wasn't very good last season. But according to ESPN, they went ahead and they kept 9 offensive linemen. And, the first 5 names on this list, Bradbury, Cleveland, Darrisaw, Davis, Ingram, no real surprises there. And then, between Chris Reed, Brian O'Neill, Vidarian Lowe, Austin Schlottman, I think that you could have figured out a way to put Oli in this list. But you know what? Sometimes surprise cuts happen, and you know what? They happen literally every single offseason. Now, if you guys are diehard Vikings fans, and I'm talking about if you're watching this video, and honestly, videos in general, this time of the year, those are the type of people that I respect. Why? You're trying to get more information. I was going to try to say informative. I guess they both work. Obviously, sometimes words not my strong suit, but I think I do a halfway decent job here and there. At the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is this. We provide content. We get you that free content, and I want to give a special shout out to some of the new subscribers. So here are our 5 most recent subs on Vikings Now. Shout out to Caleb, Danny, Gary. Let's say Drive North, and then Benjamin Freeby. If you want to see your name on a future show, hit that subscribe button. And hey, if you see your name on here and you want to tag us on Twitter, you want to tag us on Instagram, we're at Chat Sports. We would appreciate it. Let's go to the next name here. We're going to stick with the offensive line, and you probably noticed when I showed y'all the 9 offensive linemen that ended up making this roster, Wyatt Davis was not mentioned. And Davis was a 3rd-round pick, 87th overall in the 2021 NFL Draft. And a lot of times when you look at surprise cuts, Same way, when we do videos around trade candidates or what have you here at Chat Sports, you read the tea leaves, you look at rumors, you look at reports out there, whether it's from minicamp, whether it's from OTAs, and when you see that a team drafts a player like Ed Ingram in round 2, you're like, okay, a lot of draft capital there. Then they bring in Jesse Davis. You have Chris Reed. So you're putting extra additions at the offensive guard position. On top of that, I really wanted Wyatt Davis to be a success story. And actually, when Minnesota drafted him in the 3rd round, I remember going on Chat Sports showing me, like, this is actually one of the steals in the draft because he was a player that got round 1 hype. He was incredible at Ohio State. I believe he was part of Ohio State's all-decade team. Like, that's how good he was in college. And then when I watch a player out there, I look at a young man who looks lost, who looks like he doesn't have confidence. And at Ohio State, he was a man playing amongst boys just because of how big he was and how physically gifted. Now he's at the NFL level, and he is a man playing up against other men, and he doesn't know how to handle it. And it's starting to pile up. So, honestly, I'm not all too surprised that he didn't make the team, but it was definitely a name that ended up sticking out. We got 2 more surprise cut candidates, but before I get into them, hey, man, I'm all about deals, and I'm all about saving you guys some money. If you're looking for this Vikings t-shirt combo, it comes in sizes small, I believe all the way up to 5XL the last time I checked. These 2 t-shirts combined usually are $50. No, if you go to chatsports.com/Vikings combo, that link that you see below, I'm also going to put it in the description. I'm also going to put it down in the comment section. That way you don't miss it. I'm going to save you $20. Both of these t-shirts combined, $29.99, usually $49.99. Sounds like a pretty damn good deal to me. We're cutting off prices. We're cutting up some players here. It's chatsports.com/Vikings combo. Let's go to the next player here for my Vikings surprise cut candidates after the ESPN 53-man roster projection article. It's Chazz Surratt. And even though he did not play a single snap last season, the Vikings added some talent at linebacker. Personally, I like Surratt when he first came out of college, a 3rd-round pick. But again, when you see new head coaches, you see new general managers come in, it's new regimes that end up following as suit. Last season, Minnesota ran a 4-3, and predominantly they've been a 4-3 defense for, the last 9 years Mike Zimmer's essentially been there. At 6'2", 233 pounds, he's too small to be an inside linebacker. On top of that, the Vikings brought in some inside linebacker talent this offseason, and depending on what they do in the future with Kendricks and whatnot, but you also ended up bringing in Jordan Hicks on a 2-year, $10 million deal, and it's not that I don't like Chazz Surratt, but you drafted Brian Asamoah out of Oklahoma. You have Troy Dye, who personally I think is a better fit in this 3-4 defense, and it's not that Chazz isn't a good player. It's a brand new scheme, and in terms of keeping your inside linebackers, because he's not athletic enough, I would say, to be an edge rusher in the NFL. You're not going to keep Chazz, in my opinion, over Kendricks or Hicks. Those are no-brainers. Asamoah, this regime ended up drafting. So then the next name is Troy Dye. I think Troy Dye is just a better fit, and for that reason, Chazz, he's on the way out. The final name, and this is just one that it's a player that I like, and it's when I look at this Vikings defense right now, to me the biggest issue is the defensive tackle hole. So Jalen Twyman, the fact that he didn't make the roster, it was a notable name if I had to make a top 5 list. If I was being honest with y'all, again, not 100% surprised, but I wanted to give you 5 names that were the most glaring to me from the ESPN article, and Twyman was one of those names. Is he currently buried on the depth chart right now? Yes. But defensive tackle is a need. He was a 6th-round pick in 2021. Is he undersized as a defensive tackle? Absolutely. And that's why that's kind of why he's impacted heavily in a 3-4, because you can't put Twyman out there at 6'2", 290 pounds with his skill set and then depend on your other 2 defensive ends. You need a bigger body. You need someone that can really handle on some of those double teams, be a little bit more predominant in a run-stopping role. You drafted Adamio. You have Harrison Phillips. You have Dalvin Tomlinson. Armand Watts really stepped up, I thought, last season. So those were the names that were the surprise cut candidates. So when you go back and you look, If you haven't read the article yet from ESPN on the 53-man roster projection that came out last week, please do so. But here were the 5 names that I was the most surprised did not make the roster. Ihmir Smith-Marsette, Oli Udoh, Wyatt Davis, Chazz Surratt, and then Jalen Twyman. So what do y'all think here? Which roster cut to you was the most surprising? I anticipate most people are going to say Ihmir Smith-Marsette. Maybe there's another name that I didn't mention, which, hey, I would appreciate if you guys let me know. And remember, this Vikings channel continues to grow. The more subs we get, the more videos we can create. So if you enjoyed the show, if you made it this far, all I would recommend that you do, send it to some friends, post it on Twitter, post it on IG. Let's continue to make this thing grow, because if it continues to grow and then it's the regular season, we're going to have a lot of fun here, I promise you.